Hello everyone, this is Mrs. Pan speaking. So for today, we are going to go through chapter 1 from your textbook. You can refer to pages 2 to 28 for this particular lesson. So today we'll be talking about balanced diet. By the end of this lesson, you would be able to do the following. First, define what is balanced diet. You would also need to be able to state the functions of the following nutrients: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, vitamins A, B group, C, and D, as well as minerals, namely calcium, iron, and sodium chloride. Besides that, you would also need to state the functions of water and dietary fiber. And last but not least, for each of the nutrient, I would expect you to be able to list down the food sources. Okay, and that includes water and dietary fiber. So before we start the lesson proper, just some things for you to note. Food contains the nutrient that our body needs to stay healthy. And what are nutrients? Nutrients are actually chemical substances that are found in food. The food that we eat makes up our diet, and we need to take note of what we eat so that we can maintain a balanced diet. So in all, there are 5 nutrients that are keeping our body healthy. The first one is energy-giving nutrients, namely they are proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. And we also have this category called protective nutrients, and they are the vitamins and minerals. So in total, we have 5 nutrients that our body would consume, and they perform different functions that help our body to stay healthy. Water and dietary fiber are not nutrients. So that means that when we consume it, right, it is not absorbed by the body and it will be passed out naturally via your urine or as fecal waste. So, but in this instance, they are very, very important to us as well, because later on you'll find out that they also serve very important functions in our body. Now, balanced diet. When we talk about a balanced diet, it means that the things that you eat have to contain all the nutrients that your body needs in the correct amount to meet your individual nutritional needs. So what do I mean by that? Okay, firstly, you have to eat all the food for your breakfast, lunch, and dinner throughout the whole day, and it has to contain the correct amount of carbohydrate, protein, fats, vitamins, minerals. Okay, besides that, you also have to get a decent amount of water and dietary fiber from that as well. Okay, what do we mean by our individual nutritional needs? So if you do recall Mrs. Fan talking to you about different life stages. So like Mrs. Fan over here, I'm an adult. So my nutritional needs will be based on my age. As for you, your nutritional needs is based on your age. So the amount that we eat will be slightly different because we are at a different stage of growth. So you are growing up, you will need a lot more nutrients than I am because I am at what we call the maintenance stage. But regardless, we need to maintain a balanced diet. And how do you achieve that? You can actually achieve a balanced diet by firstly having a variety. You need to eat a variety of food. Moderation. So moderation means that when you eat a particular food, you cannot eat too much or too little. You must make sure that you eat different types of food every time. So that means that, if your favorite food is, let's say, chicken, you cannot be eating chicken every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because that means that you do not have moderation. So moderation means that you make sure that, I have my favorite food, but I cannot be eating it every day repeatedly. I need to make sure that I change what I eat every time. And last but not least, whatever we are eating is called food intake. So you are eating all these things. Why? Because you have the nutrients. You want to use it. So when you use it, it has to balance with the physical activities. So our walking, our sitting down, including your exercises, those are the activities that we do every day. So you must eat the amount that you need for such activities. You cannot be having too much food and very little physical activities, because that means that you are not having a balanced diet, and that wouldn't have a good outcome because you might gain weight. Likewise, if you are someone who don't really enjoy food, you eat very, very little, you will also have an imbalanced diet, because that means that you don't have enough nutrients and your body don't have the enough nutrients, that means that you might be underweight or suffering from some health condition because of the lack of nutrients. All right, moving on. Let's take a look. Energy giving nutrients. There are 3 nutrients that I will classify as energy giving nutrients. So that means that they have similar function. When your body eats it, they can give your body energy. However, you need to take note. Okay, our body has a preference when it comes to using energy. So when you consume food, your body would prefer energy from carbohydrate sources first. If there isn't enough carbohydrate sources, your body will make use of the fats. Okay, last but not least, your body will make use of protein only when there is a lack of carbohydrate and fats. Usually this one will only happen when you are in extreme starvation mode. So in Singapore, we are a developed country, it doesn't really happen that often. Okay, so back to energy giving nutrients. Carbohydrate, proteins, and fats, they all give you energy. But our body actually prefer carbohydrate as the main source of energy for our body. Okay, the next one, protein. Protein can be used for energy, but only when there isn't enough carbohydrate and fats. So what exactly do we use protein for? If you do recall, I did mention that before. Protein is actually used for our growth, our repair, and maintenance of body cell. So all the muscle that is formed on our body right now, the formation of our internal organs such as your heart, your liver, okay, all these are created or made by the protein that we eat and we consume into our body. And that's the reason why protein is always used as energy as a last resort. Okay, fat is the one that is the highest in energy level. Okay, it gives you a very concentrated amount of energy. So it is used as a storage in the body. And what does it do to us? Do for us, I mean, it actually keeps our body warm because there's actually a layer of fat that is underneath our skin. So that can actually keep our body warm because it prevents heat loss. Besides that, right, fats also line our internal organs so that when we fall down, it actually cushions us and it prevents internal injuries. All right, so now let me share with you the different sources of energy giving nutrients. These are just some based on your textbook. There will be more sources, okay, but if you refer to your textbook, this will be the ones that we have. For now, it would be sufficient for you to understand that when we talk about carbohydrates, right, there are 2 types of carbohydrate, the simple carbohydrate and the complex carbohydrate. So simple carbohydrates are usually things that taste sweet. So what are the things? For example, honey, okay, that you see in the photo, maple syrup. There are also fruits that are sweet tasting. For example, your bananas, your strawberries. So all these, so long they have a little bit of sweetness, chances are that they contain some amount of simple carbohydrate. Okay. In contrast, complex carbohydrate are the one that is actually more starchy based. They are not very sweet. Okay, and they are things like your bread, your noodles, and your rice. And these are the ones that we should be consuming more of as an energy source. Okay, if you take simple carbohydrate as your main meal, you will get a burst of energy, but that means that you will increase your blood sugar intake, and that's not good in the long term run because you may risk getting diabetes. The same thing about complex carbohydrate. When we consume complex carbohydrate, we try to consume sources that are higher in dietary fiber. So in comparison, rather than eating white rice, okay, the complex carbohydrate source that will be good will be your brown rice. Okay, instead of having white bread, it's better for you to have whole grain. Okay, like your wholemeal bread. Now, moving on to the next food sources, that is for protein. So protein, we need it to grow our body cells, maintain and repair our body cells. There are 2 sources that can be obtained. We can get protein from animal sources, such as from eggs, from fishes, from your milk, your dairy product, and also meat sources such as your beef, your chicken, okay, and your lamb. Whereas for protein sources, we are looking at mostly the seeds of plants. Okay, the seeds of plants are usually classified as a protein source. So what kind of seeds am I talking about? I'm not talking about rice. I'm actually talking about things like your chickpeas, your kidney beans, your soya bean, okay, and your almonds. All these are different kinds of nuts that have a certain amount of protein. Last but not least, another source of energy that we have is from fats. So what kind of fat sources do we have then? Again, the same thing. They are obtained from animal and plant sources. So over here, you have from the fat sources, right? Butter and ghee. Butter and ghee is obtained from churning of the milk. So the first layer that you obtain is actually ghee. It is called butterfat. The next layer is actually a mixture of fat and solid, and that is where your butter came from. And if you can see over there, that actually the other picture actually shows is actually lard. Lard refers to the skin, the fat of animal is usually found underneath the skin. But as for the plant sources, right, plant sources of fats, we can actually obtain it from the seeds or the flowers. Okay, so over here you can actually see some examples of fat sources from plants. We have olive oil, canola oil, and we have corn oil. So if I were to go backwards again, just to show you this, you can actually see that complex carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates, all these are actually from plant sources. So carbohydrates can only be obtained from plant sources. Protein can be obtained from plants and animal sources, and fats can be obtained from plants and animal sources. All right. So I've talked about energy giving nutrients. Okay, they mainly provide energy to our body, but nutrients like protein and fats, they also have other functions that our body needs, and that is very important. So now let me go on to the protective nutrients part. Okay, in protective nutrients, we are talking about vitamins and minerals. So what are the vitamins that is of interest? Firstly, vitamin A. It keeps our skin healthy. It allows us to see better in dim light. So some of the food sources that we have are things like your egg yolk, your milk, your cheese, your liver. Okay, from plant sources you have are things like your spinach, capsicum, papaya, and carrot. Okay, vitamin B group actually helps you to release energy from the food so that you can utilize the energy for your body. So what are the good sources of vitamin B group? We have things like your eggs, your milk, tuna, liver, bananas, your pearl barley, different types of nuts, sunflower seeds, okay, and even green peas. So these are just some examples of food that are rich in vitamin B. Next one, vitamin C. Vitamin C, not only does it help to heal wounds, it also helps you to absorb a mineral, which is iron from food. And that is very important because later on you will realize that our body also need iron for a very important function. For vitamin C, you can only obtain it from fruit sources and vegetable. And some good sources of vitamin C are guava, oranges, strawberries, kale, capsicum, and broccoli. Now moving on to vitamin D. Vitamin D is another vitamin that works very well with another mineral. In this instance, vitamin D works very well with calcium. So it helps the body to absorb calcium so that you have strong bones and teeth. Some of the good sources of vitamin D include your egg yolk, your cheese, the liver, and oily fishes like salmon. Okay, so that's pretty much it about vitamins. So I mentioned about vitamin A, B, C, and D. Now moving on, it would be the minerals part. Okay, so for minerals, we will be covering three types. The first one that I'm covering right now is calcium. Calcium helps to build strong bones and teeth. So remember which vitamin actually works well with calcium is vitamin D. So when you eat vitamin D, it actually helps you to absorb calcium from these food sources such as your cheese, your broccoli. You see that can over there is canned sardine. So if you want to have a good source of calcium from sardine, you need to eat the bones in canned sardine because it is edible. You can also find calcium in kale, in things like your soya beans. Okay, and that's the reason why if you are someone who follow a vegetarian diet, your main source of protein actually comes from soya bean. Okay, and last but not least, another example that you see there is actually yogurt. All right. So besides using calcium and needing calcium for strong bones and teeth, your body also needs calcium for muscle contraction. Calcium will also help your blood to clot. So just now in vitamin C, we learned that vitamin C helps your body to absorb iron. Now, why do we need iron then? Your body actually needs iron because it keeps your red blood cell healthy. To be more specific, your body actually needs iron because iron is used in the making of red blood cells. So some of the rich iron sources are things like your red meat such as your beef, your egg yolk, okay, oily fish such as tuna. There are also some green leafy vegetables that gives your body some amount of iron. They include things like your caicin, your kale, and even some of the nuts and pulses such as your kidney beans can actually supply your body with a good amount of iron. Okay, last but not least, sodium chloride. Sodium chloride is something that we add very, very often in our seasoning because all our condiments and sauces would contain things like your salt, your soy sauce, and so on. And all these contain a good amount of sodium chloride. We do need sodium chloride in our body because it helps to maintain fluid balance. But one thing to note is that you should not have more than 2 teaspoons or 5,000 milligram every day because study has shown that too much sodium chloride in our body can lead to high blood pressure in the long term run. So some of the food that are high in sodium chloride are actually cured meats. So for example here, the cured meat such as your bacon, it uses salt as a preservative. So it has a very high amount of sodium chloride. Your pickled vegetables such as your kimchi, your achar, some of you like to have pickled cucumbers or eat the pickles in hamburgers. All these also have a good amount of sodium chloride because that is used as a preservative to preserve that particular product. Okay, another source of food that is high in sodium chloride would be things like your salted nuts because those are usually tossed in very high amount of salt. Okay, so I finished talking about minerals and vitamins. So you do know that vitamins and minerals such as vitamin C and iron, vitamin D and calcium, they will work hand in hand with each other to perform similar functions in the body. So now let us talk about important non-nutrients. Water and dietary fiber are actually important non-nutrients, okay, because they perform very, very important functions in our body. And without them, right, the whole body cannot function well, even if you have a good amount of vitamins, minerals, carbohydrate, proteins, and fats. So let us take a look first. Water. Water is important because it helps to maintain your body temperature. And you need water because it helps to remove waste product through urine and sweat. So some good sources of water include things like your drinking water, the plain water, your clear soup, or fruits that are high in water content. And those will replenish the water that your body needs. But you also need to take note about this. When I say water, it doesn't mean that all the liquids are good. So for example, the beverages that you like to drink, the tea, the green tea, the chrysanthemum tea, all right, or the bubble tea that you're having, these are not considered water sources, even though they are in liquid, because they are made from tea, they are diuretic. It actually removes more water from your body than it replenishes it. Okay, not only that, all these drinks tend to be high in sugar. So they are what we call empty calories. They provide your body with a lot of energy from simple carbohydrates, but do they do your body good? It doesn't. So hence, when I'm talking about sources of water, we are talking about plain drinking water, okay, water in the soup that you drink from, or high water content fruits such as watermelon. So you need to take note on that. Okay, last but not least, dietary fiber, also a very important non-nutrients because it keeps the digestive system healthy by removing food waste from the body. So in layman term, in your term, it means that by eating dietary fiber, it can help your body to poo-poo, okay, better. So what kind of dietary fiber are we talking about? Dietary fiber are actually substances that your body cannot digest properly, and usually these are found in your plant sources. So if you recall in your primary school, right, you learn about different plants, part, and so on. Dietary fiber actually is from the stem, okay, or skin of fruits. So just to name some cereal grains such as barley, corn, and oats, okay, wholemeal flour. We also have things like your fruits. Okay, we have your pulses. So pulses are actually dried seeds of plants. So all the skins are actually undigestible. And last but not least, the different types of vegetables that we have in our diet. Right. So in summary, for this chapter, we need to maintain a balanced diet to keep us healthy, and we can achieve it by following the VMB way: variety, moderation, and balance. The different nutrients that we consume in our body actually performs different functions. So you got to take note about what are the functions and what are the good food sources that we have. Last but not least, by maintaining a balanced diet, you can also ensure that you do not suffer from imbalanced intake of these nutrients. At your level, you do not need to know about imbalanced intake of these nutrients, but if your body eats too much or too little, there could be certain effects happening to your body if you take too much of a particular nutrient. Okay, so that's all that I have for you today. Please make sure that you complete pages 2 to 5 of your food and consumer education activity book. Okay, that is related to this chapter. So do a good job and hand in next lesson. Bye.